Hello and welcome to Fiquei para Morrer, also known as
True to Death. That shouldn't really sound so jazz hands, should it?
Nice.
Yeah, I did worry about that for a second. I was like, but then I
You
rolled with
are
it.
listening to the lovely sounds of Anna Rita and
Sarah. Don't know why it dropped an octave. I just thought.
don't know. Sarah.
It literally sounds like I just. Yeah, if the sound of a fart could leave your mouth, that's just what happened.
Jesus Christ.
I am sorry.
We're on with the potty mouth.
Yeah, and that took how long? Anyway, you're on with Anna and Sarah, and I'm going to try and keep us on track today. Good luck with that.
Good luck with that. It is. I do fear it's going to be a long one, so we do have to kind of keep on track. So I am going to try to keep us on track.
Okay.
What we do here is we like to tell true crime stories. Well, any story really, but particularly true crime. And I like telling true crime stories based in Portugal over the years, mostly because I'm from there and I'm actually learning about Portuguese history and in general and crime history in particular as we go along, so that's amazing.
And I am letting you roll with it.
Thanks. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And Sarah likes to tell crime stories from
the UK,
England, and the UK.
Yes, so I am also from Portugal, but I was born in England and have grown up here and lived here all my life. But I have Portuguese parents, so it's in a weird, warped way. It is nice to learn anything about the country from where my ancestry is from. And learning about we've been learning about very interesting crimes over the past few weeks, and long may it continue.
Agreed.
Did I just swallow a mature pill? Because
I think we both did, because I think that was very good.
Right? I went from talking about passing gas through your mouth in the terms of a voice, and then it was like, no, smarten up. One must actually speak with no. And now I'm back to down it goes again.
And
so
we did
Anna,
the intro in 3 minutes, so not too shabby.
Well, I was just about to ask, what have you got for today?
Right, so today we are sort of continuing on from where we left off a couple of weeks ago. And I'm just going to get straight into it. You know what? I'm just going to
dive in.
I'm just going to dive straight in.
Quick intro before you do. Are you a dive-inner or are you a dip your toe?
It depends on the mood that I'm in, because sometimes I like, if particularly, well, it depends on the mood I'm in and also the weather outside.
Okay. So you judge the climate and then...
Yeah, if it's cold...
Yeah.
Then I'm usually like, dip your toe. But if I'm like in the sort of mood where I'm like, I don't even want to feel the cold, I don't even I just dive in.
Fair. I'm weird because I will start off with a dip my toe, and then it's almost like my brain's got a 10-second countdown, and then I throw myself in.
Yeah.
Like, what was the point in dipping your toe? Why not just throw yourself in, girl? Like I'll be like, 1, 2, sod it, and then throw
when
myself
it's
in.
a pool, I actually have a strategy. That's in the sea. If it's a pool, I have a strategy wherein I dip my toe until I'm all the way in. I basically slowly get in, and then once I'm all the way in, I get out, I walk around the pool, and then I go back in. And
That's mental, that.
because you walk around the pool, your body
Yeah.
cools down. So by the time you get back in, the water actually feels warm.
Huh.
That's
Yeah,
my
with the
strategy.
pool. With the sea, I'm much more. With the pool, I will literally just be like, right, put a foot in. Then by the time I've put a foot in, I put most of me up to my shoulder in. Then by the time I've done that, it's like, right, head in now. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm probably more of a diver inner.
The sea, it
But
depends on whether there's waves or not. Because if there's waves, I'm much more inclined to dive in.
oh god,
Because
yeah,
at a certain point, there's only so much you can do to keep yourself. If you keep walking forwards, there's only so much you can do to kind of like
yeah,
stop yourself from getting wet.
yeah, yeah,
Anyway,
yeah.
and we've like it's now been 6 minutes. Anyway, let's get
That
in.
was officially our intro. That was officially our warm up topic. So I know
Fair
we didn't
enough.
need one today, but let's
Fair
let's
enough.
dive in.
Let's
Let's
dive in.
test the water and dive in. Let's go.
So today it's actually going to be more of a history lesson, although there is crime involved. But it's
Okay.
much more of a history lesson. So strap in, and here we go.
Consider me
Where?
strapped. I mean, yeah, let's yeah, not like that, but consider me strapped.
Well,
Yeah,
whatever floats your boat.
I think
So,
so.
where we left off, Camilo Castelo Branco had spent a year in prison, during which he was visited by the king, Dom Pedro V, twice, and where he met the figure known as the Portuguese Robin Hood.
Hey.
Oh my god, this
Hey.
is Pedro fella again. Let's hope he has a
What?
little bit of luck than the
Oh,
last
that's a
one.
different one, not the same one.
Yeah,
There
no,
were a
okay.
lot of Pedros as kings in Portugal.
I just hope he has a better fate than the last one.
Yeah. 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 That's funny. No
Well,
spoilers
woe to
now.
you,
Tell the
won't
story.
we?
Yeah. No spoilers
So,
now.
José Teixeira. So we're talking about the Portuguese Robin Hood, not King Dom Pedro. So José Teixeira da Silva, better known as Zé do Telhado, which telhado means roof, so Zé from the roof, was born on the 22nd of June, 1818, in Telhado, hence Zé do Telhado,
Okay.
in Castelões Penafiel. He was born into a family of humble means, and at the age of 14, he was sent to live with an uncle in Caíde de Rei, Lousada, to learn from him the art of castrating and caring for animals.
I'm not sure
That's a
castrating
big
and caring
dichotomy.
for is. Yeah.
Getting some
I
sort
just.
of historical whiplash here.
Do you?
Isn't
Yeah. Do you
that
not feel like
lovely?
it's a paradox? I'm going to care for you, but I'm going to cut your junk off at the same time.
Yeah,
Well, people still do that now with their dogs, like, so.
exactly.
Yeah, valid. I'm not sure full I'm not sure full
History
castration.
repeats itself.
I mean, I think it's kind of like he doesn't necessarily do it all at the same time. I think it's kind of like, in order to make some money, he kind of learns both to care for the animals and also to castrate them in case anyone needs. I don't know if this needs to be
Bull's
edited.
bits.
Anyway.
Yeah, okay.
Like that scene in The Sopranos where Chris is talking about Tony. He's like, he gives you a drink with one hand and then he condemns you for taking it with the other.
Yeah.
You know? He's
Yeah.
like castrating one hand, stroking with the other. That sounds wrong. Let's
That
continue.
really does. It really,
So,
really
Surely
does.
you'd
Yeah.
want to.
petting
No,
with the
never
other
mind.
hand.
Yeah, no, that's even
Well,
worse, dude. That's wow, this went dark. Anyway, so he is
Moving
earning a
on.
living. He's earning a
He's
living. Carry
trying
on.
to. He certainly is trying to. He
Yeah.
had a vast military experience, which began in the 2nd Cavalry Barracks. In 1837, he fought as a member of the Lancers of the Queen against the Septembrists in favor of restoring the Portuguese constitutional charter of 1826, but sought refuge in Spain upon the loss of his faction.
Okay.
So
he's a rebel rouser.
This is where history comes in. We're now going to travel back a little bit further to 1801.
Okay.
This is going to be a bit of a history lesson episode, so bear with me.
Okay.
Because there was actually not a lot of information on Zé do Telhado, although he is a very well-known figure.
There's not a lot of information on Robin Hood.
Exactly. There's not a lot of like history or information about him. So I'm kind of giving to this idea of like this war that he fought in and that he was a part of. I'm kind of giving a little bit of context to that so that we can understand what all of this about the Septembrists and the Portuguese constitutional charter. We're gonna like go into all that.
Let's do it.
So we're traveling back to 1801. Spain was pressured by France to invade Portugal and close the Portuguese ports to British trade. This fails initially. There's a convention agreed between France and Spain, which leads to an ultimatum for Portugal to end its alliance with the UK.
No.
Yes.
I've never got more divided. Who do I stand by?
They would have to close their ports to the UK and open them to France and Spain, or Portugal would be invaded by the Spanish army with French aid.
So, this is not the first time they. Yeah.
It's the French.
Yeah.
That's what they do with the Yanks to kick us out.
No, to be fair, it's not just that. Like, so this goes. You could go back 500-600 years with these four European nations playing each other off.
You could.
Henry, if I'm right in my thinking, even, and I'm about to riff my favorite period in history, but Henry VIII, one of his sisters, was married off to the King of Portugal to seal an alliance. Yeah, because he just wanted to piss off the Spanish. So you'd get England allying with the French to piss off the Spanish, then allying back with the Spanish to piss off the French again. And Portugal was just used quite often as a pawn country, so to speak.
We were, but to be fair, we in instances we got a lot out of it, but we kind of didn't always know how to play our games, if that makes sense.
100%,
anyway,
100%.
So Portugal signs the Treaty of Badajoz, albeit with economic and territorial losses. See, again, like I say, not really knowing how to play the game. Not to mention the alliance with Great Britain. Portugal would not be able to keep to the terms of the treaty, firstly, since their ally, meaning the UK, controlled the access overseas, which was necessary to maintain Portugal's economy. Secondly, since the treaty did not guarantee the country to be kept safe from Spanish invasion. And thirdly, because one of the conditions which was to seize the assets and detain people of British nationality, was not reconcilable with Christian principles. So for all of these reasons, we were not able to maintain the terms of the Treaty of Badajoz.
Can you imagine being told that now? Portugal forms an alliance with Spain and the Spaniards go, do you know what? One of the conditions is all the expats sitting in your country right now, kick them out. Have them arrested.
Yeah, that would be crazy.
What a bizarre idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How weird that would be.
Just fielding that one out there. So yes.
How crazy it would be if a country which sometimes needs
the tourism
were to, distance themselves from countries near them and basically try to kick out. Anyway.
Yes. Yes.
In the end,
I'm too busy actually as we speak. Sorry, people. I'm too busy scrounging a thing of bread so that I can shut the hell up while Anna's talking. Because that's the only way we're going to keep on peace. So carry on.
In the end, although Napoleon changed the offending clause and Manuel de Godoy threatened against the departure of the Portuguese royal family to Brazil, the British monarch offered the aid and escort in the transfer, which was accepted.
Okay.
In 1806, I'm kind of going year by year so we can kind of keep track of where we're
Timeline. Yeah.
In 1806, Napoleon Bonaparte decreed the continental blockade after his failure to invade England. Portugal refuses to adhere and honors their alliance to England. To invade Portugal and imprison the Portuguese royal family and force abdication, Napoleon's troops would have to travel by land, meaning Spain, as the seas were controlled by the British Royal Navy. Yeah. If anyone who is listening already knows all of this, I apologize. I am speaking not to you, but to those of us who had to learn through research. So
my knowledge of the Napoleonic Wars is very, very vague.
Speak to Markeen, he'll tell you all about it. He knows a lot about it.
Yeah, well, I think Scott knows a fair bit about it. And our man on the maybe not.
There was a question mark in there.
I know.
There was a question mark.
Well, on that note, then he doesn't. So, I know we've got Nelson's column for a reason, but I'm very ignorant of the timeline of events that happened with the Napoleonic Wars.
Well, so was I, but now I probably know more about it than I should.
Then carry on informing us while I continue munching on my bread.
Fair. So, 1807, the secret treaty of Fontainebleau. I apologize to our French listeners.
Wow.
Between Napoleon and the Spanish minister Manuel de Godoy, conquered Portugal in 3 parts. The province of Douro e Minho, as well as the city of Porto, would become the kingdom of Northern Lusitania, and to be ruled by Louis II, King of Etruria, whose kingdom Napoleon wanted to add to the French Empire. After forcing Louis to abdicate, this was what he used as compensation.
So it's like, I'll take your kingdom, but you can have this little bitty kingdom.
That we haven't conquered yet, but we're sure to. Yes.
Charming.
Alentejo and Algarves would become the Principality of the Algarves and be ruled by Manuel de Godoy, known as the Prince of Peace. The rest of Portugal, reduced to Beira, Trás-os-Montes, and Extremadura, including Lisbon, would be under occupation by the French army and suspended until peace was established. Now, there is actually a map of Portugal divided into these spaces. So
I need to Google this right now. Go, carry on. I just is it me or was Napoleon on crack?
He may have been.
Like, all right,
he was on a lot. That's for sure.
It just he seems to be suffering from like serious small man syndrome.
He just really wanted.
I think you're supposed to call that suffering from success.
He just really wanted
in a row. What a guy!
Oh yeah, all right. Yeah,
he
all right.
He just really wanted to stick it to the British, I think.
Which, in all fairness, we do kind of have it coming sometimes.
Sometimes.
But I'm looking at this map of Portugal right now as it should have been divided, and I'm like, well, no, it's actually divided in half with a tiny chunk up in the top left corner just to pacify the guy he is planning on,
Yeah.
I
Pretty much.
There's a word I want to use, but it will have to get bleeped out, so I'm not going to use it.
Well, because
so...
really, this was an alliance forged between France and Spain. Louis II was just benefiting from it, so he didn't really have a say. He'd already, I think by this point, I might be speaking out of turn here, but I think by this point, he'd already abdicated from the throne of Astoria, so it's kind of like so back on track.
So in all of this, they're going to cut Portugal up into three pieces, essentially. That's the plan. How dare they?
That's the plan. While Don João VI is advised and sets in motion a transfer of Portuguese court to Brazil, with the help of the British Royal Navy, General Junot invades Portugal. So that on behalf of Napoleon, obviously. So that on the 30th of November, a mere day after the Portuguese court departs, Junot arrives in Lisbon. So basically, rumor is, I don't know whether this is true or not, obviously, but rumor is that he could still see the ships moving away when he arrived.
Okay.
He subdued the Portuguese cavalry and destroyed the Regency Council, which had been nominated by Don João VI days before. So basically, the idea was to capture the Portuguese royal family and force the king to abdicate the throne so that they would have full control. And to avoid that, the king and the court was essentially moved to Brazil.
I mean, if you're going to get sent somewhere, Brazil's not a bad show.
I do have a sort of related/unrelated question.
Okay.
When did people in Brazil start speaking Brazilian Portuguese? Was there like a sort of colonization at some point there that I'm
there is yes, Portuguese. The Portuguese absolutely colonized Brazil.
Okay.
I would have to go further back.
Moved them there.
By this point, Brazil was already a colony of Portugal.
Oh, okay.
I would have to go further back in order to talk about all that. I can at some point, but
that's okay.
Not in this one.
Do my own research if you want.
No, it's all right. I'm happy to do it at some point. I'm happy to do a fully
Maybe there's a little crime related there.
I mean,
probably yes.
Yeah, it's colonization.
Probably.
I'm
trying to keep to Portugal crimes, as in crimes that have happened in Portugal. But I absolutely will at some point have to go into crimes that happen in Brazil.
Yeah.
Just shortening it, Scott, if you really want to see the level of destruction with the colonization of Brazil, there's a film, and obviously it's a film adaptation, so it has a lot of dramatic license, but there's a film called, is it The Mission or The Missionary, with Robert De Niro playing a Portuguese priest who goes over to Brazil to, what's the word? Educate? Is that the word they used? Educate, civilize, make them civilized, refine, and by the time you've come out of that film alone, I'm
sure Britain won't know what to do with that.
The trauma.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've got the worst ancestry for traveling around the world and trying not to feel bad. I don't think there's a corner of this planet that I could go to and not have to say sorry.
To be fair, the Portuguese kind of the
started
Portuguese did get involved in there, so
Yeah, no, we didn't just get involved. We didn't just like. This is where Portugal, for being who they are, sometimes it almost does feel like you're like, I'm so sorry, we did. They started a
yeah, we
snowballing
did.
process that not only led to the colonization of half the world, but also slavery. So
But we
you know,
did
you're like, oh,
acknowledge our descendants as well.
yes,
Because we
yes.
didn't really have a choice. Anyway, we could go into this. Let's keep going.
Yes, we're going on to politics. Let's go back to the history.
Yes. So
I'm waiting for my history lesson, teacher.
So 1808, with the start of the Peninsular War, which escalated when Napoleonic France occupied its supposed ally Spain, occurring in the Iberian Peninsula, the royal family arrived in Rio de Janeiro and it ceased to be a colonial capital to become the first capital of a European empire outside of Europe. So we are innovating, we are renovating, we are changing things around, people.
Okay. Well,
don't you love to see it?
We were doing that.
Yeah,
I claim the fame. I was there. True fact.
Just
I'm claiming it, so I'm not. I'm absolutely not.
I'm standing back and going, if I say anything right now, it's going to land me in so much trouble. So yes, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to be very, very quiet and say nothing. So it's a rare moment, so make the most of it.
So the French turn against Spain prolongs the war until 1814, when Napoleon is defeated by the Sixth Coalition. During the Peninsular War, the British forces organized various campaigns against the French in Spain, with the help of the Portuguese, using Portugal as an entry point and a place to provide supplies for the Spanish troops, thereby ensuring full control of the country. So Portugal was basically fine so long as the war was kept in Spain, and in the meantime we were kind of providing both the British and the Spanish with like as much help as we could, essentially.
Both the British and the Spanish against the French, essentially. Yes. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Because that's just
because they turned against the Spanish. Essentially what happened was Napoleon was like, yeah. You're helping us get control of the Portuguese. Don't worry. We're just gonna go to Spain to make sure that everything is under control, right? We're just gonna make sure everything is on the up and up. Don't you worry about us being here. We are not taking full possession of the country. It is absolutely fine. Oh, wait.
We are.
Guess what? Anyway.
We are. Yeah. I'll come back to he had a couple of successful campaigns. It went to his head and small man syndrome. Done.
Pretty much.
Napoleon summed up in 3 sentences. Carry on.
Well, as a fellow small man,
apparently he was actually not that short.
What he did was arguably pretty impressive, you know.
I am not talking
he
about
instated one of the first meritocracies in the European world at that time, promoting people via their intelligence instead of their status. I think he, as much as, you know, he did do a lot of bad stuff.
Was a dictator?
With it. Yeah. Dictator, schmictator, what? What?
Yeah. This is the guy who knew nothing about the Napoleonic Wars. Carry on.
So, we are now in 1815 when Dom João promoted Brazil to kingdom. So, essentially, Brazil is now the kingdom.
Okay, so bad enough Brazil was colonized and religionified.
It had already been colonized, but it basically went from a colonial capital. Well, it went from a colonial space to it's now a capital. Like Rio de Janeiro is the capital. Brazil is a kingdom. Like,
Yeah.
this is it.
That's what I'm talking about. Bad enough they had to colonize them and educate them in the ways of religion. And I'm actually doing finger quotes as I say this. But then they go and up the ante in the 1800s and go, and by the way, we're now going to gentrify you.
Basically, yeah.
Okay.
So in 1820, the Liberal Revolution of Porto happened, which resulted in the formation of a government and the election of deputies or members of parliament by convocation, and established a provisional governing board with the aim to abolish absolutism and submit the royal power to a parliament. Until then, Portugal had been under the protection of the Regency Council, who were themselves submitted to the authority of the United Kingdom. The country had been reduced to a protectorate, as well as a sort of colony of Brazil since the end of the Peninsular War.
Are you telling me that previous to that, the Regency Council was answerable to the UK? Is that what you just said?
Not forever, not like just since the end of the Peninsular War. Yes.
I was like, what is that? Okay.
Not forever, but basically the British were basically like, well, we came to help you keep France off of your borders, so we're gonna stay.
Yeah.
Namaste.
Yeah, you're welcome. Anyway, okay. I had a moment.
Yeah, not forever, just like just since the end of the Peninsular War.
We stopped being occupied.
So like about 6 years.
Okay. 6 years is 6 years too much. Anyway, carry on.
1821. The Provisional Governing Board is undone, and the constituent courts gather in Lisbon to form a new Regency Council to exercise power in the name of Dom João, and freeing political prisoners and demanding the return of the king. Not to be confused with the Lord of the Rings sequel, is what I wrote down.
No, because we're not going to Mordor.
No.
I can't. Like, my head's messed up enough. I don't need a ring of power. Like, that's just yeah. I can't cope.
The king returns.
Hey.
1822. Dom João is made to swear an oath to the new constitution, which puts an end to absolute. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ! Excuse me for swearing. Absolutism and inaugurates. Thanks, man on the mic. Who is actually on the mic? Well, hey.
I know, this is truly insane.
I think this is the first time.
The dates to be remembered.
Yeah.
And inaugurates.
Carry on.
Inaugurates the constitutional monarchy, which would only last for a few months. Oh, yes, right. So, I think I may have erased this, but at some point, when he left, Dom João made basically put Dom Pedro in charge in Brazil. So because he came back to Portugal, he left Dom Pedro, his son, in Brazil in charge of everything. Dom Pedro declared the independence of Brazil and was acclaimed emperor.
Right.
So, 1823, the Count of Amarante in the north of Portugal proclaims an absolute monarchy. Dom João's second son, Dom Miguel, leads another revolt known as Vila Francada, which, despite the initial resistance on the part of his father, came to restore the king's absolute power. Dom João VI nominated Dom Miguel commander of the army, dissolved the courts, and formed a new government composed of absolutists. I couldn't speak, right, guys? Don't
I'm not sure
that.
I can. Like it's my thing's flashing when I'm not actually speaking. So I'm like, do I breathe that loud? So, yeah, heavy breather. Anyway.
To be fair, I think we all do that a little bit. I think mine does that as well.
Couldn't hear when I went mute before, so hang on.
Did
you hear it?
No.
Because I'm just going to mute myself, I think, when I'm not speaking. Just because, yeah, so long as it doesn't affect the recording and you don't hear doo-doo every time I do it. Anyway.
No, only you hear that.
Tech tip for you. You're going to want to stick a singular grain of rice into your headphone jack.
Yeah, I know.
That'll clear it out.
Anyway, carry on.
So, he nominated Dom Miguel commander of the army, dissolved the courts, and formed a new government composed of absolutists and conservative liberals. Liberal politicians ran for exile, and the Constitution of 1822 was annulled. However, the king forbade the rise to power of the ultra-reactionary or far-right party.
Okay, so rebels, basically.
Yes.
Okay.
So in 1824, throughout her life, the Queen Consort spent a large part of her time instigating revolts against her husband in favor of Spain, her native country. During the Abrilada, so called because it happened in April, Dom Miguel detained civilian and military figures whom he and his mother considered guilty of participating in liberalism and conspiring against his father. Dom Miguel set up a military headquarters in the Estaus Palace in Lisbon with several military bodies and ordered a siege of the king's palace. An agreement resulted in the return of the troops to their quarters, yet maintaining the prisoners detained in an attempt to appease the prince. Don João VI took refuge in HMS Windsor Castle. There's them Brits again.
We're everywhere, man.
From whence he fired his son, ordered for the political prisoners to be set free and for his son's supporters to be arrested. Dom Miguel was thus summoned aboard the HMS Windsor Castle and forced to board another ship to France, from there to be deported to Vienna, and his mum was confined to Queluz Palace. In 1825, the independence of Brazil is recognized. So it took basically that long for it to be declared independent, and then for the independence to be recognized.
That's not shocking at all.
No.
Not even close.
In 1826, Dom João VI nominated his fourth daughter, Isabel Maria de Bragança, as regent, even upon the king's death, until such time as the legitimate heir and successor of the crown would show. He died 4 days later. Dom Pedro, despite being the emperor of Brazil, was still the immediate heir, which was confirmed by Isabel Maria, who named him successor. Dom Pedro proclaimed himself Dom Pedro IV, King of Portugal. He revised the Constitution of 1822, in which, with the new constitutional charter of 1826, he tried to reconcile absolutists and liberals, allowing both groups governmental posts, and since the Brazilian Constitution of 1824 prevented him from ruling over both countries, he abdicated the Portuguese throne in favor of his daughter, Dona Maria da Glória, who was 7 years old.
How old?
7.
Shit. Okay. No, if you're going to rule a country, 7-year-old is as good as any.
Well,
think.
to be fair, he agreed with her uncle, Don Miguel, that once she reached the necessary age, they would marry.
Oh, here we go.
Don't you love an arranged marriage with your brother?
No.
Well,
no.
with your between your brother and your daughter. Anyway, before returning to Brazil, Pedro named Miguel regent, leading the prince to return to Portugal from exile. Because remember, his dad had exiled Dom Miguel because of the little spiff they'd had. So now he's back.
Guess who's back? Anyway.
1828, Miguel assumed the regency on behalf of his niece and bride. Courts convoked by him acclaimed him the legitimate successor and King of Portugal, invoking the Lamego court documents, which alleged that Dom Pedro had been cut from the line of succession the moment he had opted for Brazil, for which he would not be able to transfer the kingdom to his daughter, nor any of his descendants. So basically, Dom Pedro's like, yeah, you can marry my daughter when she's of age, and also you can, in the meantime, you can rule the country. And Dom Miguel was like, bet, I'll take it.
Yeah.
And also, your daughter can get the F out.
It's all barring like the arranged marriage. That does sound pretty good.
Yeah.
Does it sound like a deal? Are we rocking with that?
Well, not really.
I guess rule a country, man. That sounds awesome.
Yeah, but like you're getting hooked up with a 7-year-old and having to wait until she's like.
No. I said bar the arranged marriage. That sounds
okay. Oh, okay, fair. Fairs.
Yeah, but to be fair, he's not actually taking that. Right? I mean, he took it to begin with, but now he's like, well, I'm here now, so your daughter can GTFO.
She can piss off.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say it. She can piss off. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Carry on.
So, a month after his arrival, he dissolved the constitutional courts and assembled traditional courts, being crowned Miguel I of Portugal and annulling the constitution. He was only recognized as king by, any guesses? Who recognized him as king?
Himself.
Or what countries? Well, besides that, yeah.
The UK.
The UK.
Interesting. No. You have to think further away. It's kind
Brazil.
of UK baby, though.
What?
United States.
The Yanks.
And the Vatican.
Oh, no way.
So only
That's
the
crazy.
United States and the Vatican recognized him as king.
Why is the Vatican getting really? Why is the Vatican getting involved? Like, oh, hang on, you're not part of the lineage, but now that you've put yourself up there, yeah, God recognizes you as
Basically.
No. Let's not wade in on that one. No. How dare you, Vatican?
So, 1831. Pedro abdicated the crown of Brazil in favor of his son Pedro II and travelled to Portugal to defend his right to the throne on behalf of his daughter. He disembarked in Açores, where he established a base of operations. In 1832, he travelled to the mainland, landing north of Porto, and immediately afterwards, Miguelistas besieged Porto. So Porto is now surrounded.
Question. You said he based himself in the Azores. Is that the Madeiran Islands?
No, Açores and so Madeira is one set of islands, and Açores is a separate set of islands.
Yeah, but are they not geographically close to each other?
They're close to each other, but they're separate groups of islands.
Yeah, no, 100%. I'm just for reference. I'm thinking of that part of the world because you've got the Azores, you've got Madeira, and you've got the Spanish Canaries. Essentially,
Yes.
am I not? Yeah, so that's the location in my head when you said the Azores. I was like, I think I know where that might. That's a hell of a mission to be sailing up to the north of Portugal from there. Or am I losing my mind?
No, it's fairly close. That's why it's kind of part of like Portugal and all of that. Well,
I
not
suppose.
technically, but
Yeah, but still, it's yeah. I would have.
it's basically because it's on the way from Brazil to Portugal. He kind of went from Brazil to Açores and then from Açores to Porto.
Fair enough. And now
Well, to the
Porto's
north
under
of Porto.
siege.
And now
Yeah.
Porto's besieged. 1833, Lisbon fell in the hands of the Pedristas. So basically, the Dom Miguel's side just sort of gave up immediately as soon as the side of Dom Pedro arrived in Lisbon. And Dom Miguel set up a court in Santarém. In 1834, the Treaty of London was made by the Quadruple Alliance, UK, France, Spain, and Portugal. The British troops disembarked in Figueira da Foz, and Spanish troops entered through Beira and Alto Alentejo. The Battle of Aceiceira, great name, spelled victory for the Pedristas. Peace signed at Convenção de Evramonte determined the return of the crown. The return to the crown of Dona Maria II and the exile of Dom Miguel to Germany. So once again, Dom Miguel is out of here.
That man's probably got whiplash.
Well, then he should stop fighting his own family, shouldn't he? Really?
True.
I mean, they
It's
invite him back.
That throws his toys at the ground.
Exactly. Like his brother is literally like, yeah, okay, I know dad kicked you out, but you can come back, it's fine. And he's like, well, now this is all mine. So guess what?
Yeah. There's that was like me and my brother and sister when we grew up, and we used to have to share like £1 coin and go and spend sweets, and it would be like, well, how do you split £1 coin 3 ways? And I'd be like, well, you get 33p and you get 33p, which is essentially 66p. I get 33p, but that last friggin' penny, all mine. So yeah, I can relate.
Basically. Yeah, it's kind of the same. It's completely the same thing, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, that penny gets you an extra penny. Well, not these days, but that penny back in my day, that penny used to get you an extra sweet. So it's worth it. Anyway.
So in total, there were 16 battles. In Açores, there was the Fight of Pico do Celeiro in 1828, Battle of Praia da Vitória in 1829, the Reunion of Ladeira do Gato in 1831, the Fight of Ladeira da Velha in 1831, and in the mainland, there was the Siege of Porto in 1832 to 1833. There was Fights of Formiga in 1832. There was the Battle of Ponte Ferreira in 1832. Battle of Ria de Vigo in 1832. Battle of Cabo de São Vicente. Jesus Christ, bear with me while I try to speak. Battle of Cabo de São Vicente in 1833, Battle of Cova da Piedade in 1833, Battle of Alcácer do Sal in 1833, Battle of Pernes in 1834, Battle of Almoster in 1834, Battle of Santo Tirso in 1834, Battle of Santana in 1834, and finally the Battle of Aceiceira in 1834.
1834 is a busy year, god damn.
It is indeed. Well, they were getting to the end, they just wanted to throw all their eggs in the same basket.
The 1834 basket.
Exactly.
Fair enough.
In the banishment law, Dona Maria II decrees that her uncle, Dom Miguel, by then stripped of his royal status, and all his descendants were banished from Portuguese territory and without any rights of succession to the Portuguese throne forever.
What a loss. God damn.
Well,
Forever? That's a long time.
well, to be fair, he tried to do the same to his brother, so, you get back what you take. No,
Yeah, it's next
you
round
take
about.
what you get back. You know what I mean.
Yeah. Get what you give, reapeth what you sow.
That's the one. In 1836, the Revolution of September occurred, which was a coup d'etat which abolished devourism, which is basically what it sounds like, and enabled the proclamation of the Portuguese Constitution of 1838. The discontent was caused by the fact the Constitutional Charter of 1826 did not come from a legitimate assembly, which put into question the sovereignty of the people. The Portuguese Constitution of 1822 was temporarily reinstated until constituent courts were assembled and a new constitution was written. In 1837, Marshals Saldanha and Terceira attempted to reinstate the Constitution of 1826 with what became known as the Marshals' Revolt, but it failed. Now there's a bit of back and forth, because in 1838, since the revolution had the support of the National Guard, neither the Queen, Dona Maria II, nor the government had any means of fighting it. Thus, both were made to swear an oath to the new monarchical constitution of 1838, which, once finished, included the banishment law of 1834. It was an intermediate amalgamation of the constitutions of 1822 and 1826. Unfortunately, this one would also be of small duration. In 1842...
Seems like such a quick turnover. I don't mean to cut you off, but
No.
it's just everything happens within such a short span of years. It's
absolutely. They basically
insane.
just keep going back and forth until until now, basically. So in 1842, we are getting to the end of this. In 1842, Antonio Bernardo da Costa Cabral, a politician who had been a member of the extreme left and an avid supporter of the Revolution of September, had since become a prominent member of the Freemasons and disillusioned with the Septembrist movement and the behavior of the National Guard. He had grown close to the Queen and taken charge of the Ministry of Justice and Ecclesiastical Affairs. The deemed traitor, Costa Cabral, assumed the leading position as political chief of a new coup, and as a result, a few days after the Castel de São Jorge garrison saluted the charter.
They saluted the charter. That was awesome.
They saluted the charter. The Constitution of 1838 was revoked, and the Constitutional Charter of 1826 was restored. Once again, without the clause, this time without the clause against the Miguelist branch. So all that thing about Dom Miguel being out of succession, he's back in, baby. He's back in.
It's never a bad day for Miguel, man.
Absolutely not. There's always hope. And Costa Cabral was nominated Minister of the Kingdom and eventually made State Councillor and Count of Tomar by the Queen. With his government adopting a reformism which aggravated the Miguelist groups, staunch conservatives for the traditional monarchy and enemies of any liberalism, a discontent reminiscent of that which was felt during the Liberal Wars was quickly on the rise. So basically, it's still not over. In 1846, the Revolution of Maria da Fonte was a popular revolt against the Chartist government presided by Costa Cabral. It stemmed from the strong opposition to the government, new tax demands, property surveys, and land registry updating for tax assessment, which the people called thievery papers, along with stricter military recruitment. The
Thievery
trigger.
papers. That's what I think every time I see my payslip. Got taxed again. Damn.
That's pretty much what people thought. The trigger was a decree. Are you ready for this? You're not ready for this. Was a decree from 1844 which banned burials inside churches and required deceased remains to be buried in open field cemeteries following death registration and health permits.
Oh yeah, that's a way to get population, like the popularity.
Isn't it?
You know that religion that you abide by? Screw that. You're not getting buried in the holy place.
That's a way in with the people. You have to pay to like, you know, be
Hearts
buried.
and minds, man. Hearts and minds. They really had this down to a science back then.
Not to mention you have to be healthy as well. You have to have died healthy.
Who died healthy back then? like all of 2 people?
On top of having to break with religious tradition and wait for the death certificate, people would also have to pay for the funeral expenses. In the end, another civil war broke out, known as the Patuleia, which lasted for 8 months and was only ended by the signing of the Convention of Gremido on the 30th of June, 1847, thanks to the involvement of the Quadruple Alliance. And now we're back to Zé do Telhado. In this context, did José Teixeira da Silva, much like his friend Camilo Castelo Branco, fight against the government of Costa Cabral in the Revolution of Maria da Fonte as one of the leaders. Upon his return from refuge in Spain, he was made sergeant under General Sá da Bandeira and later received the knighthood of the Military Order of the Tower and Sword. Military Order of the Tower and Sword of Valor, Loyalty, and Merit, which is still the highest distinction received in Portugal today.
How would one go about getting one of those?
You'd probably have to fight in some sort of war. I don't know about nowadays.
Because that sounds like something that would really look good on my CV.
Who knows? Maybe the podcast will get real good. It'll
get so good. We'll get a distinction from the Portuguese government, man. I can't wait.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's a more than zero possibility.
I hope so. That would be so cool. It really would look great on a CV.
It would indeed.
Like I've got a few months of work experience and the highest distinction the Portuguese government can offer. Who could say no to that?
Jump from 0 to 30.
Exactly, yeah. Damn, I'd be able to land a job in maybe a Tesco. Oh, boy.
Yeah, that's what they'll consider. Anyway, just the year before, in 1845, he married his cousin, Ana Lentina de Campos, with whom he had 5 children. Although some sources say their union happened just after the end of the Civil War of 1837, resulting instead in a return to his hometown of Castelões de Recezinhos to start and raise his family until the Revolution of 1846. So basically, there's contradictory stuff in the different resources I found. Whichever the case, with the loss of his party, he accumulates tax debts and is expelled from the armed forces. Unemployed, he becomes involved with outlaws, and later known as Zé do Telhado, he leads a gang of responsible. He leads a gang responsible for several robberies in the regions of Baião, Slorico de Basto, Faf, Felgueiras, Lousada, Marco de Canaveses, Santa Cruz de Riga, Tâmega, all over the north of Portugal. During one of these robberies, his group murders a servant, and the search by the authorities to find the bandits becomes more aggressive. He tries to escape, but is arrested in March of 1859 aboard the ship on which he intended to escape to Brazil. He was incarcerated in the Court of Appeal of Porto, and this is where he would meet Camilo Castelo Branco. During their stay in prison, Castelo Branco would confide in him his fear that either the uncle or husband of Ana Plácido would hire someone to kill him. However, Zé would seek to comfort his friend by assuring him that should anyone lay a finger on him, 3 days and 3 nights would not be sufficient to bury the dead.
That's a heavy threat. God damn.
You a friend that will,
like he doesn't just say, like, in the Weatherspoons at 2 a.m. Yeah, lad, I gotta spark that guy if he touches you, mate. No, he's full on Shakespeare with this shit, man. That's awesome.
He's like 3 days and 3 nights is not enough.
Oh damn! I'd give that my eternal servitude.
The funeral would be 4 days long, actually. So,
That's how much I'm gonna mess him up. Yeah. Cool.
That same year, Zé was tried in the judicial court of Marco de Canaveses and condemned to exile in the western coast of Africa for the rest of his life, which was achieved despite the expectation of a death sentence with the help of Castelo Branco's lawyer. However, in 1863, this was instead commuted by the Court of Appeal of Porto to 15 years of exile. Following the exile to Angola, he lived in Malange until he died in 1875 from smallpox at 57 years of age, as a well-known rubber, wax, and ivory merchant. There, he married Conceição, a local with whom he had 3 children, and he remains buried in a small mausoleum built in his honor in Xisa, about 100 kilometers from Malange. He was accused of 11 crimes, although it's suspected he committed many more. He would subsequently be compared to Robin Hood due to his gang's target of choice, the elite. They would exclusively rob the houses of the wealthy and nobility. According to legend, despite his crimes, he displayed much respect for the owners of the houses he burgled, and would afterwards distribute a part of his ill-gotten gains to the poor. This sharing of his proceeds with the poorest families in his neighborhood earned him the respect and admiration of the people, for which he is known to this day. His friend, Camilo Castelo Branco, whose literary works remain forever linked to the history of Portuguese literature, would immortalize the legend that became Zé do Telhado in Memórias do Cárcere, translated to Memories of Prison. Although he did not die in prison and came to enjoy some long years of freedom, writing a large collection of his works, having children with, and eventually marrying Ana Plácido, after the death of her first son, Manuel, at 19 years old, and disappointed not only in 2 sons, Jorge and Nuno, but also his own financial and health issues. Since 1865, he had begun to suffer from double vision and night blindness, thought to be symptoms of syphilis, causing him to slowly go blind. At 3:15 in the afternoon, sat in his rocking chair, and while his wife saw his doctor to the door after he was called, Camilo Castelo Branco committed suicide. And with that...
Was it get worse?
No, and with that, and not to end on such a dark... Well, not such a dark note. That is where we're ending, but I got my information from Wikipedia, Museu Virtual do Tribunal da Relação do Porto website, and Cultura website. And also, I didn't use this for this today because it was just adding extra information. But there's a website called Passo de Lanheses, with the story of Zé do Telhado and the Almada Countess, which basically gives you an idea of what his relationship to the people that he was robbing was like, essentially.
It's pretty cool.
And with all that said, that is the end of the story of both Camilo Castelo Branco and his friend Zé do Telhado.
That was one hell of a story.
Oh, sir, I can't hear you.
Did you hear anything of what I said in the past half an hour?
I don't think so. I did worry.
Ew. That makes sense then, because at one point I was like, "Can I just say something?" And yeah,
I'm so sorry.
No, I thought
about saying something halfway through, and I was like,
I'm kind of glad. It must have been my mic. It literally must have been my mic, because at one point I actually said, "Do you mention the name of a place? Say Sarah, something like that."
Say Sarah, yes.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, that's like saying my name." And you carried on telling the story, and I was like, "Okay, either she heard none of that, or she really wants to get this story out." No, hey,
kind of like saying
I'm gonna be honest. I thought you were just being sort of uncharacteristically quiet.
Well, I'm not doing that again, so I hope you've enjoyed.
Yeah, can we just say for record, uncharacteristically quiet? I've never been in my life.
That's why it was uncharacteristic.
Uncharacteristic. Yeah. No, that's. I tell you what, that it's. So I think I got whiplash around the third battle or rebellion. I was like,
exactly.
Oh my god!
Like the amount of times these guys go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth.
My head is literally. I like the fact that he was like a Robin Hood type, because when at first you were talking about him, I was like, is he actually going to live up to that Robin Hood rep and give some money back to the poor? And when
he apparently actually did. I mean, it's legend. There's no actual proof, obviously, but according to legend, which is usually spread by the people, and the people would have been the ones that he would have been giving money to. So, supposedly. And even the people that he robbed from, other than obviously that one servant that was killed, unfortunately, apparently they were very polite to the people they robbed.
I can't, but like, again, visually, I'm like, okay, I'm just going to pick up this bit of silverware and take this. I won't wreck your china, because clearly that's precious, but it's not worth it. But basically, while I'm just going to take this necklace. Thank you. So yeah, no, I found it fascinating, but I'm not kidding. I think I'd have to listen to this episode about 3 times over just to keep up with. That's a lot of battling.
It is a lot of back and forth. I could probably summarize it.
God, no.
At this point, I feel like I know enough about this, and I can't believe that like it's finished now. It's over, but basically, it's just a lot of back and forth between.
You must feel like you've survived War and Peace. Like,
just a quick summary is basically like who wants the royal family to be in charge and who wants the people to be in charge, and that is it.
Yeah,
And
it's
the
kind
back
of
and forth is between them, and in the end, obviously, the people ruled.
it's kind of funny because all this is also very recent history, in terms of like England lost. Well, they haven't lost their monarchy. That's a poor example, but when you look at France, for example,
No, but if one of the funny thing is you say that, but if one of these wars had gone a different way, because that's kind of the way that monarchy is in the UK is kind of what part of the or one of the groups, that's kind of what they wanted, is like basically the monarchy is there to like serve as, what's the word, like an image thing, but essentially the people have rule. And that's kind of what part of them wanted. But if these wars had gone differently, that may have been the way that Portugal would have gone.
Yeah. Do you not find it fascinating that less than 50 years after all that's kicked off, so, all right, not 50 years, when did Portugal really start entering a dictatorship?
So, 19, I want to say 40 something. I might be wrong.
So Portugal walked straight out of royal sort of rule. Had a few years of almost like a vacuum. Yeah, had a few years, decades of almost like a vacuum, and then went straight into a dictatorship. It's like, huh?
Basically, yeah, we went from. I mean, we never really left until the 60s, when that was kind of.
Wow, that's actually that's less than 60 years ago. Is it?
Yeah.
Wow, damn. Okay. Yeah. No, that was fascinating. I apologize for my my reticence of reply. It was not me. It was technicals. So
it's quite all right. I wonder if it still recorded it. So you're still interrupting, and bless you, like screaming for our attention.
That would be awful. So friggin' funny. That would be so friggin' funny. It really would be. It would like, nah, I'd keep that in for, no, don't keep that in for comedic value, because people are going to be like, honestly, at one point I was like, yeah, so no people, no listeners, there hasn't just been a punch up, I promise. This is not an episode of EastEnders. I had a technical glitch. The weird thing is, oh wait, hang on, let's get our outro out of the way, and then let's get our outro out of the way. Oh my god. Sarah,
okay. So
we're gonna say goodbye.
I hope you were able to keep up with that bit of history. I'll probably forget it as soon as this ends, but
well, to be fair, it's a lot of that's a lot of research. So well done, because I don't think I could stick at that much
research and translation work. That was a lot. Kudos
on that one.
Thank
you.
You
can rest now. So she's like, I can breathe finally. So yes, we are going to say goodbye, bye, and then say goodbye.
All right. So we'll see you next week, and have a good one. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.
Bye. Bye.